Welcome to another episode of Mumbling with Matt. That's my mumbling intro that I forgot to do last time. Some people made a comment about it. Hey, the title of this video says the state of Mortal Kombat movies. When I think of Mortal Kombat, ahead of Ed Boon, I don't think of him when I think of Mortal Kombat. I think of my guest, Unroolie himself, Kenny. Kenny, very, very happy to have you here today.
What is going on? I'm very talk about a very important topic in actually the world.
Your life.
In life, not just my life, but everyone's life.
That's true. It's in our blood.
Yes, exactly.
The call to combat. I have. Okay, just to establish, because you're the biggest. Yeah, I think you're the biggest Mortal Kombat fan I know of. As a kid, did you scream Mortal Kombat into the air at any point in your life?
Yeah, actually, quite a few times.
You're like, I did it last week.
Yeah, this is when shopping. Just going into the supermarket. Mortal. I usually scream, "It has begun." When I
That's a good one. That's a good one
when
too.
I go shopping,
Or like anything, you start any creative endeavor, you just go, "It has begun."
It has begun, and then it starts.
So a new Mortal Kombat movie came out a few weeks ago now, by the time you probably hear this, and there's some opinions. There's some opinions online. It seems a little divisive, but we're certainly going to get into that. But what I want to establish first is a base of which to judge Mortal Kombat movies on. So I'm going to ask you, in 1995, when the first Mortal Kombat movie was like getting hyped up, and what were your thoughts and feelings that at that time? Like, not to like separating them from nowadays.
Yeah.
When you think of the classic 95 movie, what were your thoughts back then when you saw it?
Oh man, like just even before, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. So I was like the excitement was like, so like, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's my dream has come true. I get to see it. And like, I still remember like watching it in theaters, like, and seeing some people with Mortal Kombat shirts. I'm like, my people, they're here. Here are my people out in the open, not in the arcade. So that was really exciting too. So, I'd be like, I'm going to stand next to these people, Mom,
This is where I belong.
Yeah, this is where I belong, Mom. I belong here. And, but like overall, I was like super, I was like, when I saw it, I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, there were things I'm like, that's weird, but I'm seeing Mortal Kombat, so that's okay. That's cool.
Did you have any hesitation going into it because of like Mario and Double Dragon and Street Fighter movies before that? Because they set like, a not very good precedent?
Yeah, but like, even in the trailers, you could see like there was things definitely wrong with Double Dragon and definitely wrong with Mario. But then you started seeing the trailers for Mortal Kombat, you're like, this looks good. This looks, Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I saw the trailer. I remember this distinctly. I went to go see Stargate at the time, and I was just like, oh, I'll go see this movie, sure. Not expecting, like, I think I knew about the Mortal Kombat movie coming out, because this was like a good few months, if not maybe a year. I'm not exactly sure when Stargate came out in relation to Mortal Kombat, but the Mortal Kombat trailer played there for the first time, and like, yeah, if I was hesitant about Street Fighter, because I did not like Street Fighter when I saw it as a kid, because it's one of those things where you're like, no, you stamp your little feet and you have your fist in the air, like, it's not accurate. It didn't have this and it didn't have that, it didn't have the things I like. But when I saw the Mortal Kombat trailer, it was like, oh shit. It was like, it was a lot of Scorpion and Johnny Cage focus, I remember, in the trailer. Like, there was a lot of their fight scene in the forest and stuff, but I remember being really hyped for that. And when I did see the movie, much like you, I'm like, that was weird. That bit's weird. Why is Reptile like that? When you first see him, and when I came out of it, I was like, nah, man, that was really good. That was a really good time. Like, I really enjoyed it then. But how are your feelings about it now if you rewatch the movie? Like, do you find like it holds up to your imagination as a kid, or do you feel it's better? Do you feel it's worse?
No, I think it still holds up to this day. Like it's for me, I think it's a perfect mess. You know, it's not a perfect film. It's not like, but it's this perfect mess that just holds together, and it's still good. Like, it's so hard to explain because it's. I mean, like if you look at it, it's not like, you know, like I said, it's like better than Street Fighter, like somehow, but like it doesn't. I think it's just like the music.
I'm not sure why. Yeah, the music.
Like the
definitely.
music, and maybe like the visuals, and it's just got more stuff from Fighter movies. So it's like right on par with the Street Fighter movie, but better. Like, you know, it's got like the music, the costumes look great, the characters are doing most of their stuff that they do in the game for the most part. You know?
Yeah, I when I look back on it now, I feel like the start of the movie is like the best.
Yeah.
The best bit in terms of like visuals. Like when they're filming on real locations or something approximating it. Like Liu Kang gets up in the middle of the night of his nightmare, and it's just like this nice shot where he's in this apartment, and Johnny Cage is like on set doing his movie, and when they're gathering up all the warriors, like that has a certain energy, and they have those bits of Shang Tsung, and you see him doing like all this like underhanded stuff and impersonating people, blah blah blah. And then once they get into Shang Tsung's island, and it's a lot of sets, like nowadays, back then as a kid I didn't notice or whatever, but nowadays when you watch it, you can see how like kind of cheesy the sets are. They look a little cheap, just because of the lighting or whatever it is. Like I know they didn't have like a massive budget or anything, but I look out on it nowadays, it has that distinct Mortal Kombat look that all the other like movies, anything that Larry Kassanov produced at this time had this cheap look. And of course, things like Reptile look like so horrible. It was at that, like, why wasn't Reptile just a puppet? You could have had him be like that puppet that's in Jabba the Hutt's, like, on Nirim or whatever. That would have been fine, but they're like, nah, man, we have the budget to do CG. And it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't have that budget. My favorite, like, holy shit, this movie is when, spoilers for this 25-year-old movie, when Goro flies off the edge of the cliff after Johnny Cage beats him, and it's just the worst that it's the best. He just gets flung into an oblivion like he's playing Crossfire, and it's just so poorly done. Like, you see that shot in a lot of like late 80s, early 90s movies when it's a perspective looking down and the bad guy falls. But it's like, you know, Hans Gruber or, you know, the Joker. But in this, is just he is this little. They just laid the Goro puppet on a green screen and just flung it all around. Like someone just took their mouse and just dragged Goro's body all around the screen. And I'm just like, there's bits like that don't hold up. You do wish that Sonya wasn't like this weird, like a bison doll that Shang Tsung wants. You wish that Sony could do a few more things, but when I watch the movie nowadays, it's like I still get hype. The music, a lot of the fights, you're like, oh, this fight coming up, it's like it's a good one, or and a lot of the actors do the best job that they can. Do you have like a standout, like what's your favorite part of the movie in general?
I think I'll have to go with everybody and like say that Reptile fight, like, you know, because like, and I think to me, because like, especially when I was younger, because I'm like, man, Reptile's this dumb lizard, like CGI wizard.
Disappointing at first.
And it was such a like kind of like a bummer in the movie, and then he goes into that weird coffin statue and comes out Reptile for some reason, and like the whole time the movie I like, but then when I'm like, that's weird. Okay, that's weird, but then I'm like, you know,
but then Shao Kahn's voice says Reptile, and you lose your mind.
Yeah, I lose my mind. Yeah, he's just on an amazing music kicks in, and there's this awesome fight scene, and it's literally the best fight scene in the whole movie. And I'm like,
I think it is.
Yeah. So yeah.
There's this particular line that always tickles the funny bone, and it's because Leanna has said when her and her sister would watch Mortal Kombat when it came out, they would always laugh and say this line to each other. And when you look back at this line, it's said in such a weird way. It's when Shang Tsung transforms himself into Chen, Liu Kang's brother, that the movie, I guess, made up. But, you never know. Liu Kang might have a real-life brother that the games just didn't mention. You couldn't say that he didn't.
I mean, that's how it is sometimes. You'd be, like, talking to someone, like, dude, you have a brother? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he sells real estate.
Yeah, it's not
He's not
exciting.
really an Order of Light. He doesn't work for the White Lotus or anything.
Yeah.
He sells real estate in Idaho. It's when Chen appears in this guise, and Liu Kang's like, "You're not Chen," and then you see him think a little bit, and he goes, "Remember when our parents died?" And it's just done in such a cadence. It's like, that's a weird way to go about it. Like, could you be more on the nose? Shang Tsung's like, "Oh, I gotta do the parents thing. Yeah, that'll get him," and it's it still doesn't work, but. I love that particular bit. That reptile fight is the highlight for me because just like you said, the movie disappoints you with weird CG reptile from Reboot Season 1. And then when he transforms into Ninja Reptile, like, everyone in the theater like throws their popcorn and everyone screams Mortal Kombat. Would you want to move on to Annihilation, or do you need like a drink before we do?
No, I think we're good. I might need a shot or two before I start talking before that. But,
okay.
And I think like going back to like the original Mortal Kombat like film, like I remember like, man, the characters aren't doing a lot of their signature stuff, but it's still cool. Like I was like, man, I want to see Liu Kang do a fireball or Johnny Cage do a shadow kick or something like that. So
and they're in there, but they're in there in the same way that like you blink and you'll miss it. Special moves from the Street Fighter movie, like Ken kind of does a dragon punch. Ryu kind of does a fireball, but you're really not sure the first time you see it. And like the shadow kick kind of happens, but it's not presented like a special move. Yeah, it's just like some effect that like a CG artist added at the last second because he was a big Mortal Kombat fanboy and he didn't get permission to do it. He's just like, I'm gonna just put a few shadows at the last second there when he warps in with Scorpion.
Yeah, it just happened to time at the right time. Like if he was doing something else, it would have been like some kind of weird shadow move. So it was kind of good that he was kicking, because let's say like he was like, I don't know, like picking up his wallet, and it would have been like a shadow wallet pickup or something like that. It would have been really weird. So it was good that he was picking up, or he was kicking at that time.
Yeah, no, it's like I don't think they like meant for it to be a special move, or they're just like, oh, we got to get, because that'll feed into the new Mortal Kombat movie we'll talk about in a bit. But for Annihilation, I remember being really hyped for this. I remember seeing less about it, like in terms of trailers and things, but like I got a bad report card that October. My parents like to punish me, were like, you can't go see the Mortal Kombat movie.
Ouch.
And I was like, nah, man, and I couldn't. But then I got like another test back right before, like the day before, and they're like, okay, you can go see a movie with your friend. And we go, and Mortal Kombat Annihilation is sold out. And I dodged a bullet that day. I went to go see Bruce Willis in The Jackal instead. So I kind of count my blessings. I only saw Annihilation like when it came out on VHS, like months and months later. And then I saw it. But before I get to it, what was your thoughts leading into Annihilation?
Dude,
before you saw
I'll tell you the funny story. I think I mentioned it online to you one time, but in school, like me and my buddy were leaving, and there's these guys that were handing out flyers to like movie screenings, And I guess they were, and we were going like, hey, did you enjoy did you like the Mortal Kombat movie? And me and my buddy are like, look at each other. We're like, yeah, like the two guys from Goro, like when Goro comes out.
Goro,
yeah.
Goro.
Yeah, that's basically like what me and my buddy did. And this guy's like, well, I got these kids, and I'm like, yeah, we've got screenings for like, for the new film.
We're giving tickets away.
Yeah, we're giving tickets away, and like. We were like, whoa, awesome. Like, and like he was giving out a bunch of tickets at my school. So like circle like to when the screening starts, like it's like me, my buddy, a bunch of kids from school. Like imagine a theater and it's just full of your high school like friends and like kids from your high school. It's like everyone and like kids from like the other high school and stuff like that. And I think I remember sitting like back, and I was like kind of like even back behind like some of the producers, like from what I remember too. I was like,
really?
Wait a minute, yeah, because like I was sitting kind of in the back, and in the back there was like, I remember the row. I'm like, oh, let's sit here because this is kind of as close as we can get, and like all the other seats were taken, like where it was like reserved, yeah. So I might have I remember kind of like might have been behind Mr. Kasanoff himself at the time, but they're like the theater, and it's like, hey, welcome, and they gave out free popcorn and like some candy to all the kids and stuff. So we're all juiced that we're gonna get to see this movie. And the guy, I remember, he's like, now we're gonna see an early screening, and we're just gonna let you know that some of the features, the CGI isn't finished. So when you see them, don't worry, it is. Just it'll be done. So when those scenes come out, we all lost our shit. It's like, and here's our animality, and it looked slightly less better than what appeared on screen. It was like it was the previs of it, and we're just all the kids are like, like screaming and losing their shit just for those parts of the animality and some of the like that was like the parts that weren't done. It was like the animalities and something like that, but for the most, like for 90% of the film it was all done. It's just the worst part to not be finished wasn't finished, and it was the animalities.
Nice.
Yeah, but man, that was my experience watching the film, like with a bunch of the kids from school and candy and a free movie. So
you were like, in the movie is being presented in the best possible light. Like it's filled with a theater that's like thirsty for Mortal Kombat, and like it's like all these people that everyone knows the game, so it's not like wandering in with like a general crowd. So after it was done, and like when you watched it maybe the next time, like did your feelings change, or were you like always hyped?
No, I was watching, and then I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why does he look like that? Why did he do that? Like,
you mean like his wardrobe change?
Yeah, his wardrobe change. He's like, hey guys, I just went to Supercuts Outworld and got this ugly outfit, and now I'm with you guys. And I'm like,
what? But it's like, okay, you want to read, because the entire first movie, Raiden spends like, I can't interfere in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But not only does Raiden interfere with Mortal Kombat in the games, he is in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
And I think the story reason was always he has turned himself into like more of a mortal or something, so he can compete. Like he powers himself down a bit, or am I incorrect on that? I remember that being like a little bit of his a shred of his story from MK1.
Like in MK1, like he literally kind of like he joins like kind of like out of like kind of like boredom, like and he's kind of his ending is kind of evil in Mortal Kombat 1. Like he wins the tournament and then he invites all these other gods and they literally almost destroy the earth, and it's like, have a nice day. From like the Mortal Kombat 1 ending, it's like, it's kind of dark. You just like,
right.
Yeah.
A lot of the midway endings from back in the day, especially ones for WWF WrestleMania, can get really dark.
Yeah.
But so, okay, you want Raiden to join the tournament. Why can't he just look the same? Why can't he just keep the hat and like keep his robes or whatever?
Yeah.
But no, we need to put him out in this vest from JCPenney and like, get this random haircut. And then people in the movie go, what the fuck? Why why did this happen to you? And he's just like, he says something stupid like, oh, a new look. I'm like, why though?
Yeah.
That's weird. And why did that happen from the first Mortal Kombat movie that a few people would say? It's like, that's multiplied tenfold in Annihilation. Like, why did that just happen? Why is this being changed? Why are they saying this stuff now? Like, it makes no sense. And, you know, I did a video about like particularly the creation of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It was just like we slapped this together in like a weekend. Like, that's all it really came down to. We just really needed to make this really quick because it came out only 2 years after the first movie, because they're like, we gotta. And they're not wrong to do that. Like, as the 90s wore on, Mortal Kombat's general popularity like waned a little bit, especially with like MK4. So like, I get it, strike while the iron's hot, but at the same time, it's like they made a lot of really rushed decisions. Like, it's kind of like what was the lesson that we learned from Mortal Kombat? Oh, kids like the music and they like the fights. Yeah. So do that and don't worry about the story. Whereas the first movie is really, you know, pretty concerned with the story. The fights that do happen are good, but there's not nearly as many. I think there's like a lot of fights in Annihilation, right? There's like every other scene is like a fight scene. Yeah,
there's like these small fight scenes that happen with the characters and stuff like that, and they just kind of die. And yeah, like I remember like Melina had a fight and
the mud fight.
Yeah, the mud fight. You know,
even as a kid, you knew that when actors changed, it was bad. Like as a kid, I was like, when they changed April O'Neil in the second TMNT movie, I was like, what's going on? What happened? So when this happens and everyone is a different actor except for Kitana and Liu Kang, and you're just like, oh, this can't be good. And when I saw it on VHS, and I, you know, kind of more or less the same thing as you, I was just like, what's happening? What's going on? And I think it's at the end of the movie. Like, I was already really, really disappointed with Shao Kahn because they built him up to be like this, like, ultimate badass. And when he shows up at the like the ending stinger of the first movie, which I also think kind of screwed over this movie a little bit. The fact that they kind of made it instantly, it jumps into an invasion and like a fight. I think that screws up a lot of the like, it's not completely responsible, obviously, but if they could have just left that to be Shao Kahn gives like a warning, like, yeah, I'm coming, and then built the movie up with a natural escalation of tension. But the fact that they jumped straight into like Shao Kahn, like, yo, it's me, here I am while you eat. And he just shows up and like all the bad flipping and all the bad sky backdrops and everyone's just... All the jobbers. All the jobbers
just start dropping from the sky.
We're gonna get into this for sure, but here's the thing with a fighting game adaptation. It's like every character, no matter how unpopular you think they are, have their fans, right? Yeah. So there's always going to be someone that's like, oh, Shiva was like so punked out, and she was, and oh my God, Rain is my favorite character. Well, you better not watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation because he gets one scene and his death is reused. And oh, my favorite character is Baraka. Well, get ready for a bunch of guys in Spirit of Halloween store masks running around. And when you try to fit in all these characters, like half of everyone's going to get jobbed out, and you're going to disappoint like slivers of percentages of your fans that way. So if you try to like fit everyone in, especially when all of it's fighting, like no one gets over, like everyone gets kind of like, you know, shortchanged, and you're going to start to dissatisfy a lot of people. And in this, they do it with pretty much every character. Like,
it's like, hey, you want to be dissatisfied? Well, here you go. Get ready for this movie.
Like, do you like Johnny Cage? Well, guess what? Yeah. If you like Liu Kang, I guess you're good. Even if you like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, like probably the two most popular characters, or of the two most popular characters, like I've never seen a movie not know anything about the franchise more than Annihilation, because whoever wrote whatever did the first movie had a basic understanding of like, yeah, this character's popular, this character's popular. But in this, it's like, let's take Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and they appear for like all of 2 scenes, or 2 scenes in Sub-Zero's case, maybe 1 scene for Scorpion, and Scorpion just leaves the movie. Just never shows up. Like, why would he not show up at the end to be like a bad boss to beat? Instead, you have like, you know, the most awkward like porn parodies of Mortaro and Shiva just standing there, and it's just
doing poses. Just like, you know, they jump in and they're just doing weird poses. I'm like,
and Jax is kind of doing like these 3-hit like high punch combos, and Mortaro's just like, oh. And what's Jax's motivation? He needs to believe. He needs to play Parappa the Rapper, and just he's got to believe in his arms. No, he has to not believe in his arms. The cyborg implants make you weak, you idiot.
Yeah, duh.
That's so in reverse to the new movie.
Right?
But anyway, when you watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation, if you watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation nowadays, do you kind of think it's taken on this mythic, like, so bad it's good and I have a good time?
No.
Or do you still not, or do you not have a good time?
I don't have a good time. It's not even like Street Fighter, where, you know, Street Fighter is bad good. This is just bad. It just, I'm watching this and I'm like, it's just like, oh man. I mean, like, there's some scenes that make me laugh, but like, it's not like good. It's like the katana spitting in Shao Kahn's face.
Any scene with Shao Kahn is actually hilarious because the actor does such a weird job. I know he's been in some movies beforehand or whatever, but like, he is amazing. Like, he was Tommy Wiseau levels of The Room with that, like how bad he is in that role, and like how poorly, like, he's a big guy, sure, but like, I think those scenes are really funny. I think there's some other scenes that I get a kick out of, but like a lot of the in-between stuff when people are just talking and Raiden's talking, like, it's actually like a drag. It's like it's hard to watch, those bits at least. And some of the fights do actually like there's some fights that I'll skip. Like, I don't want to watch this. When that big Diablo monster, the sprite from Diablo 1, shows up in the desert and Sonya and Jax have to fight it for a second, like, that's legit amazing. It looks so terrible. Like, it looks way worse than even Reptile does. It's like, those parts make me laugh, but if someone was to say, do you want to watch this or Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I'll usually go with this. I don't care. Do you want to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation or watch whatever's in this box? And I'll go the box. Like easily.
Yeah.
But some people are like, no, it's hilarious and I love it. And I'm like, what am I supposed to say to you?
Yeah.
It is close to that level, but for me personally, it's like, you know what's really good? You know what's actually better in this than the regular 95 Mortal Kombat is the theme song.
Ooh. That
incorporates Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 voice samples. Like, you know, they go Shiva.
Yeah.
I think he says Ermac, and he just does some of the new characters that appear. I think that slaps.
Yeah.
Like, I might like it a little bit better than the classic one, just because I like those Shao Kahn voice clips a bit more than the Mortal Kombat 1 announcer.
Yeah.
I just think it sounds a little bit cooler. But, I mean, for the people, there's some people that like, I don't know if you agree with this, but they're like, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is like not much different from the first 95 movie. Like, they're pretty much the same. And I'm like, nah, man, you're crazy.
No, it's like, not at all. Like, because then, you know, then they just start getting into weird stuff in the Annihilation movie, and like,
like what?
Like Velospheres?
Oh, you mean the American Gladiator?
Yeah, the American Gladiator transportation system that the Earth's had for the entire time, that leads you to a mountain right outside an army base.
Do you know what makes no sense about that, other than the fact that it exists? It's like, this entire franchise, plus the movie before it, has established everyone can just use portals. everyone can just teleport or do whatever. Shang Tsung uses portals, so does Raiden. Everyone, there's a portal over there. This is the entrance to Outworld, and then they go through. Like, why? You could have had anything. You could have had Raiden go, I'll hang around with you. I'll make portals so we can go from this place to the next, or he could imbue like maybe Katana with like the power to open up a portal and just go whatever. But I guess they felt like they needed something new and flashier, and therefore run around in these hamster balls, you idiots. Anyway,
I think maybe the director was thinking like, maybe we can like, pitch this an idea to like Knott's Berry Farm or like an amusement park, the Mortal Kombat ride. And
make like toys. Like they come with hamster balls or whatever.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, like there's so much going on in this second movie that it's just no. It's not the first. The first is this tight package that just goes from start to finish.
And this is just kind of all over the place. It honestly feels like a bunch of fights that just happen apropos of nothing. Like there's no real reason for them to happen. And it's interesting because it's a thing that kind of happens in the new movie, but they handle it obviously a bit better and like a bit different. But I have to actually have to bring this up. Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins. Technically, it might be considered a movie. What is your general opinion on The Journey Begins?
The Journey Begins? Oh gosh. Yeah. Which one was that? Was that the
It's the made for VHS little animated thing?
Yeah, that was I just remember seeing that and the effects and like
the CG
fights, and I'm just like
reboot season 1 returns.
Yeah, but even like worse than reboot, and just like going, oh no, what?
I feel like
CG
is an experimental art project.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it would have been like my community college like student film.
But it's crazy because they have like some well-known voice actors like Jennifer Hale that plays like female Commander Shepard, and like tons of roles, and like tons of Metal Gear Solid roles, played Sonya in that. And then there's like I think the voice actor that played Raphael in the original Ninja Turtles cartoon played Johnny Cage, which makes sense. And then I think like not Frank Welker, but like lots of really notable voice actors are in that. Yeah. And you watch it, like that's like, to me, that's legit hilarious, that thing. Like it's bad, but that's like fun bad. Whereas like Annihilation to me is still like you said, bad.
Yeah.
So I want to fast forward a bit to last year, 2 years ago? No, I forget when it was released. I don't think I've talked to you about this before, like at length. I think you asked me, you told me like, I feel this way, and then that was all we really said. Because I've been having this discourse with a few people on Twitter recently when they go, if you were disappointed by this, then watch this. What do you think about Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge? The animated movie that DC put out a year ago now, I think.
Yeah, the Scorpion one?
Yeah, the Scorpion
one. Yeah, no, I dug it. I thought it was cool. Like, I almost kind of had some problems with them changing some things and stuff like that. Like, the first part of it is like super awesome. Like, the Scorpion birth, but like I think some of like the tournament things kind of just like the movie did great, and then it kind of like towards the end, I think to me like kind of fizzled out. I'm like, that change is just spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but like everything's going good. Liu Kang's there, and all of a sudden Liu Kang's like, I lose. Scorpion wins. Like the way that ended really was just like kind of lame. It's like, Scorpion beats me, therefore he beat you, then he's the victor. And that's how it kind of ends. And then
it's super awkward and towards the end. But
Jack's getting jobbered out. He becomes the guy who was stretching in the first Mortal Kombat movie.
He becomes Art Lean.
Yeah, he becomes Art Lean, and I'm like, ouch, man. That's kind of.
That's like what I was saying before, is that like when you start throwing a lot of characters in there, someone has to get jobbed out. But Okay, so I pretty much agree with you. It's like as you're watching it, like it's really good. It starts off well. It's like, oh shit, this is so violent. The animation seems really good, and as it goes on, you're like, wait, what exactly am I watching here? And I've talked about this before. It's like, DC puts out all these amazing superhero movies. Like there's one for Deathstroke that's really cool. That's like its own separate storyline, and it's not like Deathstroke is being put into like another storyline. Like, oh, here's the story of Injustice, but Deathstroke's the main character. My problem with this thing is that at first when I heard about it, Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, I just thought it was Mortal Kombat. Like, Scorpion's Revenge, and what I thought it was going to be when I first heard of it, like, oh yeah, DC's planning an animated movie. It's like, here's Scorpion's origin from start to like when he's training or like discovering that he's like an undead wraith in like the nether realm, and it would show him like realizing his powers and embracing them. And I thought at the like he would fight some type of threat and be this all original story. About Scorpion. That was like, holy shit, that's awesome. And then when I first started seeing trailers that were like through the Mortal Kombat tournament in it, I'm like, wait, what? Then what is this movie? And as you're watching it, like you said, the start's really strong. In the middle, you're like, okay, this is still kind of cool. But then when it introduces Liu Kang and Sonya and Johnny Cage, like Scorpion just disappears.
Yeah.
From the narrative, and you're like, well, of course he does. Scorpion is not that important in terms of the Mortal Kombat 1 tournament. Like, he doesn't win it. Yeah, he gets his he does get his revenge against Sub-Zero, but that's the end of his story. And then they try to put like shoehorn him in tournament, at the end, and I'm like, no. I honestly really would have loved this movie if it was either what I described before, when it was like a Scorpion origin tale from start, lead into the Mortal Kombat tournament, or just make a new Mortal Kombat tournament adaptation. Yeah. Like, obviously you're going to have to retread some ground there. You're following Liu Kang more closely like it did in the 95 movie, because you spend most of your time with him, or Johnny Cage. But like, then it's frustrating because everything else about this movie is like great. Johnny Cage is like amazing. The animation looks great. There's lots of great fights. The violence is all over the top. But like you said, it just kind of falls apart, especially towards the end, where like everything's crumbling and it's like Shang Tsung's lost, but Liu Kang's still kind of lost, even though he doesn't. And then they're like, oh, throw Quan Chi in there and then have Scorpion and Quan Chi fight. I'm like, no, just choose your lane, bitch, and stick with that lane. And it's like, I really, like I said, it was frustrating because everything else is like, oh, I'm really into this, and then it just kind of falls apart story-wise. And I feel like there was a little bit of studio producer meddling somehow, where they're like, well, we have to have Mortal Kombat in there. It's like, well, you don't have to. No, you could have done the Scorpion thing, or if you still wanted to somehow put an emphasis on Scorpion, like have a little bit of his life. And I don't know, I just didn't feel that they nailed the balance of that right. I only watched it the one time, so I do feel like I maybe should rewatch it. But there's so much potential in these that I would love to see more. I'd love to see one about Sonya and Jax and the Special Forces and Black Dragon, like as a whole thing. Like, I would love to see that. I would love to see Mortal Kombat 2 adapted like faithfully, where like there's a tournament and it's in Outworld. I would just love to see that, because we haven't actually seen that. Have we gone to Outworld before? Yeah, but like it's only there for like a little bit, or it's in between, or whatever it is. I'd like to see that, or like, more tales about other characters. I'm not sure like
Monks,
who else. Sure.
Kung Lao
Shaolin
and
Monks was interesting because it was retelling Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 but from a different perspective.
Yeah, I know. And see, that's what I wish like the Scorpion movie would have done, like a Back to the Future thing where he's doing the thing and the tournament is on the side. You kind of see it happen, but that's not the focus because you're focusing on Scorpion.
Yeah, it skips over it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what I was hoping the Legend of Scorpion would do. Like, hey, the tournament's still there, but you're not really focused on it. You're focused on what Scorpion has to do and Sub-Zero and all this other stuff. And kind of like how Shaolin Monks, is this game that happens while it happens, but there's all this other cool, exciting stuff. And I think that's like you nailed it on the head. That's the problem with the film is, I think it's like, but I think people are going to want to see the Mortal Kombat tournament and they're not going to want to see Scorpion. So just add the tournament too, and it becomes like a mess. But
it's like they lost confidence in like a Scorpion only tale. And I don't because I don't think you should, because it's Scorpion. You can absolutely base like a movie all about him and not have the tournament. They're like, no, we got to get the tournament. We got to get Johnny Cage in there. Johnny Cage. Everyone loves Johnny Cage, so you can see how they would fabricate the movie. I don't know how, like, I have no idea what the metrics are on how DC movies need to perform for people to make more, because they make like a ton. They make like a couple a year. I've not heard of any sequels or anything like a follow-up to this, but it's like I really hope it did do well enough that they can make something that's more focused about like either a character or something else. Like I'd say go crazy, like just make Mortal Kombat 4, like make an adaptation of Mortal Kombat 4 or something. Like show us something we haven't really seen before, but they always want to retread.
They could do Mortal it better, because I love Mortal Kombat. I barely even know the story of Mortal Kombat 4. It would be great if they tackled it and they did it, like made it more interesting, or a Johnny Cage live acted.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, Johnny Cage,
just Johnny
Cage's Hollywood Walk. Johnny Cage's Mortal Kombat, like
that would be amazing. Like,
and you can do all this fun stuff, like Johnny Cage is filming a Mortal Kombat movie. Like I think it's like one of his story endings, I think, where it's like he after his experiences in the Mortal Kombat tournament, he makes a Mortal Kombat movie, and it's like a massive blockbuster. Like it makes more money than Avengers
Gone with the
Endgame
Wind.
It gets all these awards, like wins Oscars and shit. Like there's so much you could do. So when a movie is just kind of like, let's put Mortal Kombat 1 back in there, it's like, okay, I don't know if that'll work out well. But like I said, I do hope that they somehow do more. But I digress. Mortal Kombat 2021 is kind of the main event here.
Yes.
When you first learned that they were making this, like, because there's so many false starts, like Mortal Kombat Legacy, season 1 and 2, and then we saw that original teaser with Michael Jai White, as I'm still salty that we didn't get Michael Jai White as Jax, but leading into this movie, like I kind of thought that it wouldn't even come out at a point, because I heard so many weird things about it, like not weird like in the traditional sense, but it just like kind of like it was being kept a secret.
Yeah.
But I think it was a lot due to like their big delay from COVID, where they weren't sure like how it's going to release. And the same thing kind of happened with Godzilla versus King Kong. They like didn't show a lot or anything really for a while. So I think that has to do more with that. But what were your thoughts when this movie started to get rolling and casting about certain characters was coming out, and those remember that original bit where it's like there is going to be an MC inserted into the narrative, but he was like a department store clerk? Do you remember any of that?
Oh geez. Like I remember like early on, like things like that were just like, wait, what's going on? Is this real? Like, yeah, because I remember hearing a lot. It's like, oh, it's going to be the guy from the Fast and the Furious, and like it's going to be this, and like I remember it changed a lot from the guy who was doing the shorts and stuff like that. So
yeah, it was originally going to be him. And then, I think the Fast and Furious guy was James Wan, who also makes a lot of horror movies. But he directed the Fast and Furious.
In the beginning was a lot of horror movie stuff.
But then he did Aquaman, and then they were like, well, we need you to do more Aquaman. And I think like it kind of bounced around between, is he going to direct it? Is he not? But he produces too. And he did and he did produce this. So it was a weird time because it just felt like they weren't saying a lot. And I get keeping projects like under wraps, but because this was like, this really was like a low-key release. Like they didn't spend a whole lot on this new movie, which is something we'll get into a little bit. But when you first, I did remember watching your trailer reaction to this. But your trailer reaction was just basically you smiling and going, "Oh shit!" like every couple of seconds. But once you saw the trailer, like, what were your like initial thoughts, like seeing the stuff that was being shown on screen?
Yeah, like because the whole thing, the movie was just like as further got along, like they didn't show anything, and like the movie's coming out like fairly soon and no trailers, and usually that's a bad sign. Like usually it's like, dude, this movie comes out in a week and there's no trailer, then like you got to be worried. You know, but
and I was worried about that for a bit, but then when I read of like, oh, Warner Brothers has been doing this with all their stuff lately, because this was a last minute change to do this and that. Like I said before, same thing with Godzilla versus Kong. We saw a trailer for that like maybe 2 months before it actually like came out. So then I was like, oh, okay, that's to do with that, hopefully.
No, but yeah, I remember then, like, because I was very cautiously optimistic, like, even though I wanted to be excited, and like, it's like finding, it's like almost you're dating, or you just meet someone so awesome and you're excited, but you don't want to get your hopes up, but you just can't you have to let your feelings. And that's like how it was for me. It's like, because we've all been hurt by video game movies. We have. So that's the cautious, but then I'm like starting to watch it and I'm like, this looks, really good. Like, like especially like seeing Sub-Zero and how sick he looks, and the effects, and then like Jax losing his arms, and like, holy cow.
Seeing a mural of original Kung Lao made me freak out. I'm like, oh my god, that's such a pull. They didn't need to put that in there, and he looks exactly like original Kung Lao. Like he's just a bald guy with like a orange headband. And I'm like, that's sick.
Yeah, and then like things like that is like, okay, they got their attention to detail going on. I'm like, all right, and but
I showed, after I watched it and I really liked the trailer, I showed the trailer to Leanna. Like I told you before, like she's like very like casual fan of Mortal Kombat. She like knows all the characters, and she watched the trailer. She's like, that looks pretty good, and I was like, I know, right? I was shocked when I saw the trailer because I was kind of expecting in my head something that underwhelms, like, but you see all the designs of the characters. Are they a little bit different? Yeah, but they still have like the more elaborate stuff you've come to know for the last couple of Mortal Kombats. Like it's not a very basic ninja costume, so you're like, okay, they're mining stuff that's from current Mortal Kombats, like the last three, and you're like just wondering, like, can they pull this off? Can this be really good? And you see like this cast of actors are like not well-known names. Like most of them are actually just straight up martial artists or like stunt actors, and you're like, they did kind of do that with the first two movies. Like they weren't well-known names, so you're like, okay, that's neither here nor there, but it doesn't, I feel like they're at least not spending a whole lot of money on like a big name. That's why some people, they're like, Ryan Reynolds should play Johnny Cage. I'm like, no, do not spend the money on Ryan Reynolds. Like he's a funny guy, but like that's too on the nose for Johnny Cage. You need someone else maybe. But I really like that trailer. Like that trailer made me feel good about the movie coming out.
Yeah, like for sure, like that. And then like, people worrying about Cole, like, and I've been one of the people that like, I don't really mind when they change a lot of the lore. Like, I would mind when they put a scorpion bird hand. To me, that was like that's kind of the lore that but like when they change things with the story and like, I'm like, I'm kind of okay with that, because it's literally like when you watch a Batman movie and they give us Batman's origin story in every movie. I'm like, we get it. His parents are dead. Thank you. Yeah. Like, and like, I don't mind when they change it. Like I like those original shorts that were out in YouTube, like the Mortal Kombat Legacy or whatever, those shows.
Yeah.
And I thought they were cool. I'm like, hey, even that first one with Michael Jai White. I'm like,
yeah, the one where it's like Baraka is like some weirdo.
He's a weirdo doctor.
And like Reptile had like this rare disease.
Yeah.
That stuff I kind of felt went way too trying to justify weird outworld monsters.
Yeah.
But I was still like, I admired the dedication to try to like put more realism into it. But if it's gonna be a movie, I mean, I'm not 15 anymore.
Yeah.
If I watched anything that like deviated from the source material, I gave out about it. I was like, no, I didn't like why they changed it. But it's like at the age I am now, if I see a movie, an adaptation of something, and it does some things different, like I'd rather you do something different. And if it's good or if it's bad, well, that's up to when we see it. But like, the changes that they decided for this movie, I'm like, that's fine for the movie. If Mortal Kombat 12 comes out and they suddenly just decide, oh no, this didn't happen or this changed, like, or
Arcanas don't exist. It wasn't. We had everyone's had their Arcana the whole time, or something.
So let's get into that because that's like one of the more interesting things about it. So before, what we're saying about the original two movies, or at least the 95 one, is that they barely acknowledge like special moves and powers. It's like, Shang Tsung and Scorpion Sub-Zero, they can do these things, but we're not really going to explain it because it doesn't really need to be explained. They're from this universe. But all the other like characters, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya, and others, they're just like, they don't really do their things. But in here, I get how some people cannot like the concept of Arcanas, but I actually really enjoyed it because it made this fun mini game in between where you're like, okay, what are they gonna get? Because so the first main thing is that a few people have them, but Kano does not. So I was just thinking in my head, what are they going to give Kano? And for some reason, it didn't pop into my head that he'd be shoot lasers from his eye, because either it was due to the trailers or something else where I was just like, oh, he's going to get, his face gets fucked up and he's going to get like a metal implant. I thought he would do like his cannonball or something.
Cannonball. I could do cannonballs. And I remember talking with Steve. Like that. And I was like, it wouldn't transfer over really cool.
It would not.
Like if all of a sudden you see him fold into himself and do a cannonball. So, but you gotta go with the eye lasers. But he even says it himself. It's like, what do I get? Knives or something? Unlimited knives?
Yeah. And there's such a fun bit about that because they already have Liu Kang and they already have Kung Lao having that stuff. By the way, I'm assuming most people have seen the movie if you're clicking on this. But, it's Mortal Kombat. At the end of the day, it's like, I don't think there's a spoiler we can really say that's going to shock you.
Yeah, like,
oh, they did fatalities. But it led to this weird, fun energy in the middle where I'm like, okay, because I was watching this with like 4 people, like online. And we're all going, well, what's Sonya going to get? Sonya has to get it because she's the one that's saying, like, I don't have this birthmark that, like, kind of says that I'm going to be, like, a Mortal Kombat participant. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to get? And I'm just thinking, like, Sonya doesn't really do, like, I'm kind of thinking more modern Sonya, where all of her shit is basically, like, gauntlets or guns or whatever. I'm like, she can, use her legs and whatever, but I'm like, what is it going to be? So when she finally gets hers and she shoots like the pink rings. Bracelet blast, the rings, I was like, I guess so. Mortal Kombat 1 and 3, she doesn't actually, they just shoot out of her things. Jack's getting his metal arms. It's like, I only saw that coming maybe like 1 second before it happened. Because I'm like, why does he have such shit arms? Are the Shaolin monks just gonna like fucking get Elon Musk to make him arms? When is he gonna have it? Because I know he gets it. I seen it in the trailers. So it was fun trying to see what I saw in the trailers, go, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? But for me watching this in general, I just want to say this, like, at the start, I knew and I was told, like, Scorpion's starting scene setting up his origin, it was really good. And I watched it, I'm like, that was really good. It was very similar to how they did it in the Scorpion's Revenge, exactly. So I was like, okay, that was really good. And then I read that people said, well, then after that, the movie takes like this huge dip in quality. And was it as like dramatic and as well shot and as like heartbreaking as that kind of was? No. But like that's not the Mortal Kombat I want anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I want some silliness. I want Kano making jokes. I want whatever. So after that point, once Kano's introduced and they go to like kind of Sonya's HQ, and then Reptile appears. And I just marked out so much because so much happens so fast. And it's like, does this Reptile look exactly like Reptile? No. It's his lizard like original form, but he looks like a Godzilla man. And I'm like, oh shit, he does his tongue fatality, he turns invisible, and all this stuff starts happening. And I want to get your take on this. A lot of people said that this movie does way too much reference porn, and it rubbed people the wrong way. Like, they're just throwing references to make us give cheap pops. And I'm like, yes, they kind of did. There are some stuff that is cheap, but like, if you really like Mortal Kombat, you're gonna pop when someone just absentmindedly picks up Shinnok's amulet, and they're like, put that down. And I was like, oh my god, Shinnok's amulet! Like, I've also seen the discourse like they didn't care about this movie. They just shot it out. I'm like, someone cared.
Oh yeah.
Someone looked 100%. At something. Ed Boon sent an email. I don't know what it was, and that stuff pops me. Is it cheap? It kind of is. But like when the fatalities are happening and all this stuff is happening, it kind of gave me what a bit was missing from the 95 movie. Yeah. Like, is there a fatality or two? Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Sort of. Yeah, it's just like Shang Tsung sucking the soul out of that one guy at like the kickboxing style and goes, fatality. I remember being in the theater going, that's not a fatality. It barely looked like anything. He turned like a shade of blue.
And then like the Sub-Zero, the Jobber versus Sub-Zero. The Jobber is like
Sub-Zero, the fucking main villain of the movie.
Yeah, versus the Jobber. Cool. Here's our exhibition fight. The Jobber, like, you know how people are gonna die in the first Mortal Kombat movie if they stretch. They stretch. Look at all the people that stretched in the movie and they died. Like that Reptile fight with everyone and Kano doing a heart rip, and that's when the actor of Kano really gets in there. Like, I was like, no, I'm really into this. And I'm really into it for the rest of the movie. Like, they're training, they're trying to train Cole. Is the actor that played Cole, is he the most charismatic person in the world? Not really. No. But he's a regular guy. Yeah, he's a likable guy. Like, right? I said, hey, I kind of like them. You know, like, I like that scene where like this Mortal Kombat term, you spelled it wrong. I think that was a little funny joke that was dumb, but that made me laugh. It made me like, yeah, you know, this guy is literally a guy who spells Mortal Kombat with a C. And I thought that was kind of funny.
I'm going to say it's like my problem wasn't really with him, but fortunately they did not shove it in your face too badly. Yeah. But it's like whenever it showed like his family, I was kind of like, I really don't spend too much time on them. Yeah. Like, and they didn't. They just held off on it just a little bit, where they just get a few lines here and there, a scene or one or two. But I'm like, that's really dangerous. Like, you cannot make them interesting. And it's hard to make this guy interesting. It's already like an uphill battle. Yes. But because they tie him into a Scorpion a little bit, and he gets like his Arcana, and his Arcana was neat. I was kind of into that. It's like more of a protective thing, but also has a offensive capability. And like all these changes that they made in like with the lore and stuff, I was like, is that like the games? No, it's not at all. But I kind of like it. It's a little bit different, but it still works within this film. Like, and it's not like I want Mortal Kombat 12 to incorporate something where it's like Arcana. You have to earn it, and you like, you know, whatever. It's not something I want to see elsewhere. But within the realm of an adaptation, I was like kind of into it. And a big like I want to say like dark horse character for me. Are they in it for a ton? But no, but it's like, fuck, man, they nailed Kung Lao.
Yes, dude.
Kung Lao in MK2 is like one of that version of Kung Lao is like one of my favorite MK characters. And because he never got anything in any other adaptation,
not in
I
the
don't
movies,
think.
Nothing.
They nailed that guy. Like the actor that they picked, his entrance when he does his like teleport, and his fatality is like, have I seen that fatality multiple times? Yes, it's in Shaolin Monks. It's in MKX, I think.
Yeah.
And they have it again. And they have it to the only character that should job, Natara.
Thank you.
And I was like, I can't believe they have Natara in this thing.
Yeah, no.
Who did that?
Right? Dude, and I remember like my initial shock of him when he first shows up and he does that spin teleport thing, and I was just like, oh, like I felt like a kid.
I clapped when I saw it.
Yeah, same. I was like, I recorded my reaction to it. I was literally like, oh, like I felt like a kid because it was so clean. He does the spin and the land and the pose, and it was so awesome. And like there's only one time that Kung Lao got that love, and it was literally during Shaolin Monks. And if you watch that intro in Shaolin Monks where they're all fighting and like he throws the hat and cuts that
is really sick.
other Baraka's head off, and he lands and he does the clean of the hat. I'm like, oh, that's so cool, because Kung Lao is so dope. He's like one of the coolest characters. Like you said in MK2, when he wins, he's got the pose, his hat's down, and he just with just that intro to Kung Lao was like so hype for me. It's just like, whoa, that was like my reaction. That was so cool. And that's why I'm like, how can you like start saying this movie is like Annihilation? Like when you have moments like that, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, and like it's really night and day when it comes to those moments. Like, is this movie's story any more complicated or less complicated or better than Annihilation story? Not really, because at the end of the day, it's very basic. It's like, and I read something recently. It's like a lot of people's like, where was the Mortal Kombat tournament? There was no fucking tournament. And they start talking about a tournament in the movie, and then the tournament doesn't actually happen. So I get how that's like annoying to some people. I read recently that the creators were like, well, we don't want to have a tournament because that's exactly what the first movie did. We want to have something different where the like Shang Tsung's forces are kind of in there that just want to like fuck things up, because, and I will say that this movie does not explain it very well, because this is one of the two problems I have with it. Is that Shang Tsung and his forces don't get they needed at least 1 to 2 more scenes of them explaining their plan, because there's this weird scene of Shang Tsung and his forces walking in Outworld. Melina comes in and she starts talking to Shang Tsung, and they say very, very briefly that there's a prophecy that Earth Realm is going to win or something's going to mess things up. They mention a prophecy maybe one more time. It's not explained that well, and that's like that is a problem, because it makes it seem like, well, we're just having a bunch of random fights now. Why exactly is this happening? Because they only say it once, and you kind of need to say things at least twice for it to hammer home. And that leads to my other problem, is that there's this actor that they have that's playing Shang Tsung. Looks like $1 million. It's still, he makes you think of the original actor that played Shang Tsung in MK95, but it's obviously a different guy. He's very regal. I think he has a presence, but he just didn't get enough scenes to kind of... Is he the main villain? No, because it's Sub-Zero is the main villain, but they have him kind of being this sort of Shao Kahn almost type guy, where he's there, but he's not really doing anything. He doesn't really fight, and that's kind of a missed opportunity. That's something I would absolutely change.
And now that you say it, I really think about it. I'm like, dang, you know what? He should have got that general, like that whole villain trope where somebody's coming up and he does like a crazy thing and he like kills them or something like that. You don't get to really see him be that bad. He just kind of talks. There could have been something like where
he does this. I don't think will spoil, but he does kill a character in the movie that you're not expecting, and you're like, well, okay, I mean, this is Mortal Kombat. There's someone has to like live and die or whatever, and there's that, but that's still not enough.
That was like kind of like later on, like you need to.
It was much later on,
because they know like from the early on, you get Sub-Zero as his present. Like you get Sub-Zero is the scariest and biggest villain in this. Like he outshines. Like they needed to give Shang Tsung something like that, where you're like, God dang, like we don't want to mess with this dude. Like it could have been like some other, like he's talking and some other realm attacks and he like messes up like 50 or something to let him know that your presence. But now that you think about it,
just one more scene of him doing something else to somebody, killing a random guy that works for him, or not a random guy, but like something of significance, because he does one thing, but it's just not enough. Because I get making Sub-Zero because they really build Sub-Zero well, and I love that because it is the evil Sub-Zero that you should not. It is Bihan, who is not a great guy, and he should be framed as a villain. So all that stuff was handled nicely, I felt. When Scorpion appears, it's really hype. It feels appropriate, and it was a nice three-way fight between him, a new character, Cole, and Sub-Zero, but they balance it well enough that Scorpion still is clearly the victor of that scene, as the more important character of that scene. So there's all these bits that I'm like, oh, that was handled so well. I said I had one of two problems, and one was like kind of the lack of Shang Tsung stuff, and the other was it just needed to be expanded upon, given a little bit of time to breathe, and it was basically 3 minutes long, but it should have been maybe 10 minutes long, which is when all the heroes get their ass kicked, which was a great scene when they Shang Tsung and his forces, Cabal, Reiko is a little weird. Reiko is a jobber. Reiko should be jobbed out. Like that's totally fine. Natara is a jobber, should be jobbed out. Would I have liked to have swapped Reiko for Draman? Yes, I would have, but that's another thing. But once the heroes get their ass kicked, which is a movie thing, that makes sense. The heroes get their ass kicked at like the end of the second act. And then Raiden shows up. Raiden's not in this a whole lot. I do like that they have a Japanese actor playing him, but he plays it much more like Christopher Lambert in MK95, and not like dopey, I'm a fucking idiot Raiden from modern NetherRealm games. So I do like they give him that sarcastic thing, but once all the heroes get their ass kicked, Raiden just teleports everyone away and just goes, we're in the Nexus. We're safe here. And then they just make this plan, let's go and let's just kick everyone's asses individually. That was a weird pacing issue. And that's my really only big pacing issue with the movie that I felt really stood out. It's like, have 10 minutes to explain more things, have the characters talk to each other a little bit, just 10 minutes and not 3. Because they all get teleported and fight their individual opponents that they had a problem with. And I get that, that's fine, but it just needed a little bit more time to breathe for that moment, because it happens way too fast. And that was my only real beef with it. All the fights that happen then, Jax fighting Reiko, Sonya fighting Kano, which was very satisfying. Plus, I really like the actress that played Sonya. How do you think she did compared to like 95 Sonya?
She did amazing. Like I liked her the entire time. Like the original Sonya, it's like
iconic.
The OG, like in the first film, like she seemed like she was just always mad, like just to be mad. And I like this Sonya where she's kind of like, she is kind of pissed, but like she's got like this badassness about her and all this kind of stuff.
Annihilation Sonya is like not mad enough.
No, exactly. She's just like, what's going on? Like she wasn't part of the first film, because like things are all kind of seeming weird to her now.
Literally was brought onto set and she didn't know what the script was, and she's just like, what's going on? And they just filmed her reacting.
That was like the second Sonya, and like, you know, like, and I really like her like as Sonya. It was awesome, you know, because that first the first Sonya felt like she was tough, but she felt like unnecessarily just kind of like mean, like, oh, I'm so mean. But like this one, there was like there was I think it was almost like a little bit like the boat. Like she doesn't know what's going on. She just knows there's some stuff going on, and I think she did a great job
trying to piece together Mortal Kombat tournament. So she's like in there, but she's not, like it's not like she's clueless about what's going on or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the climax of the movie, where it's still kind of Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Cole's tale, and then they obviously set up for more. And in fact, I totally get taking a fan favorite character and like putting them away. Just saying, well, that's something you can come to later, because you literally could not have Johnny Cage and Kano cracking wise every like 2 minutes, because Kano was a lot already. Yeah, but he did that Johnny Cage role. Like fuck it, Kano could come back. Yeah, any character can come back. Really, there's
this universe. It's they've died so many times.
Yeah, when they allude to Johnny Cage, I saw the poster that said Citizen Cage. Way before. In the opening scene.
Yeah, that's right. If you kind of look around.
Yeah, I saw the thing because I'm looking for shit. And I saw like a Citizen Cage. I went, look, there's a Johnny Cage poster. So when I showed it again, I was like, there it is again. Yep. But I'm like, absolutely, I think that is a good choice. Did you see how much money this new movie cost?
Oh yeah, it was a micro budget. It was cheaper than the first Deadpool, because that's the thing I was paying attention to a lot too. Because like remember you said, in the beginning and all this kind of stuff. I remember it was a micro budget, and they saved a lot of money filming it in Australia and their studios and
all
using
those great outworld scenes that looked like there was a ton of money spent. It's like they just filmed Australia.
Yeah.
Like
I will say this though, I do like the original outworld look much better, because like it's like they use these scenes of these places in Australia, like, and just change the light and put a planet there. But like in the original, they had like a much darker tone and like sets, like, because like
it felt like a Mortal Kombat 2 background.
Yes, it felt like very much like literally like the Mortal Kombat 2 background. So that's what I can give the original. Like that's what I liked a lot about the OG. And so like there's like, if I could combine things with the first Mortal Kombat movie and this movie, you would have like a flawless movie.
Flawless victory.
Yeah, flawless victory, easy.
So yeah, when you say micro budget, like it's definitely a micro budget in terms of like blockbusters today. It's something like 50 million.
Yeah, it was under 50 million, and I was like looking
less than like Scott Pilgrim movie. Yeah, like but it does not look like it.
No.
Like, the CG on Reptile and Goro and like a lot of things, I was like, this looks like a superhero $100 million movie. So it's like,
with
however
Cabal
they shot it,
doing his like super speed and the like the little purple trails.
Cabal's effects were amazing because they felt like video game shit happening, but not in a bad way. Like, but it was also really accurate. Like, there's all these things I really, really enjoyed. Like, I had a good time with this. Can I see Mortal Kombat? If you really like Melina, you're not getting a whole lot there. Mm-hmm. If you want Johnny Cage, sure. I can understand people like not also liking Cole. Yeah. But it didn't bother me. I thought I was going to be bothered by him.
Same.
And I really, really wasn't. I was a little bit bothered by his family, and there's some lapses in logic, like, wait, why is this happening? And again, the pacing issue I mentioned before, but it's like, for a first-time director, I think this director's only directed music videos, maybe some other stuff, but like, for a first-time director, all these martial arts and stuntman actors, like, I really think they did a super good job for like the first thing. It's like, I don't know how well this is done overall, like in terms of like how HBO Max performed, but it's like, I want a sequel real bad. I want all about Mortal Kombat 2. I want an actual Baraka and not some asshat running around in a Halloween mask.
Yeah, even though literally that's the original Baraka.
It is. But,
Party City. But no, it was a Nosferatu mask with press-on nails for the original Baraka.
As the teeth. I want Kintaro.
Yes.
You know what? I'll say that is like when people are like, oh, Goro got jobbed out. But I'm like, Goro kind of jobs out. That's like literally what a sub boss does.
That's his purpose.
Yeah, it's his purpose, but I do kind of get it because Goro has this like legacy.
Yeah.
I think if they had changed Goro to Kintaro, or maybe even more Taro, I think people would be a little less mad because those guys job out. It should have been Moloch.
Moloch, yeah, they could have been Moloch. Yeah, that would have been perfect.
I think people would have been a little less angry.
Yeah. But like, it's like Goro was like he like in the first movie he gets beat by Johnny Cage who does a nut punch and climbs up a mountain and then knocks him off of it.
Fight. They have a terrible fight.
Yeah, but the thing is they make him look cool because they have hype men. Goro, yeah, and then like he beats a bunch of jobbers in the beginning. So, but like
that's true too.
Yeah, but come on, like Goro is like he's the sub boss. He's meant to get jobbed out. Like literally he only looks cool because he has hype men and he beat Stretching Man.
Okay, if we could be so petty, I would have loved to have gotten the Goro fanboys in this movie as well. They just show up outside Cole's house. Goro!
Yeah!
Just Goro simps just show up in every movie.
Oh, they should definitely, and we love that scene so much. It's like I thought like we should put this in our assist me. So like that whole scene where Jason comes out and like we're like, all right, because we shoot things off the cuff. So I wanted to throw a dedication to those two guys. So when Jason comes out, me and Steve are like, Jason, yeah.
I want to know where those two actors are today. Like,
right?
Did they know the enormity of what they had created, or who writes in the script? It's like two guys keep screaming Goro. Yeah. And, like it shows them multiple times. The camera loves them.
Loves them. Yeah, right. It's like when you're like in an audience and like, man, we really, like these guys got great energy. Let's focus on them. Like there's like a live recording of Mortal Kombat, and these guys in the audience are giving off the most energy, so they just keep going to them. Yeah, I think that's what would happen. They were just like extras, and they're like, yeah, they were like excited.
Those guys really were into Mortal Kombat at the time.
Goro!
So going into a possible sequel, like based on this new universe and where the characters ended up, Bihan is killed. Spoilers. Reptile. Scorpion is obviously there, but he's not like an active participant. Seems like he spends time like away and could get maybe summoned by Cole. Yeah. Cole obviously is there. Where would you like to see like a second movie like go in terms of where the characters ended up?
Yeah, like definitely like maybe like some remnant stuff coming back. I'd love to see like Kung Lao come back, but like as like a bad guy, kind of like in the MK.
That'd be cool.
And he because then they could make it look cool, like Kano, of course, like Noob Saibot, because he did such a good job as Sub-Zero. I'd love to see him even get more like scarier as Noob Saibot.
I think that guy, I forget the actor's name, but yes, thank you.
Yeah.
He signed on for multiple movies. Yeah,
so he's like
either he would play Sub-Zero's brother or play Noob Saibot, which would be super cool.
Yeah, man, because like I like the whole time watching him, I'm like, dude, he was watching like a lot of Michael Myers, a lot of Friday the 13th, because he just had this presence of him that was just very like scary. Like what they could have done? They could have like made this Mortal Kombat movie like about Cole and some stuff, and it could have been like a Terminator style movie with like Sub-Zero, because like that's what he gave me. He gave me Terminator 1 vibes and T-1000 vibes. Like
especially with the fight scene with him and Jax, that really set him up as like this guy you cannot possibly defeat, and just kills you at the end. And it could have been just him stalking Cole and his family or whatever. Yeah. I think more people have had even more of a problem with that, but that's like still an interesting idea.
Interesting. I like that, because I've been a fan. Like I said, I like that whole lore. You could have it could have been like the first Mortal Kombat movie could have been like the special forces and Cole and like Sub-Zero is just terrorizing through like special these grisly murders, and the special forces are hunting him down, and he's just like mowing through them. That would have been cool. But I think it's just like some people like and here's why I like the movie, like, and it goes back to the original when they were changing things like Scorpion's hand, like lizard bird
lizard thing. Yeah,
I was like, wow, that's so weird. But then I start seeing really cool fighting and Mortal Kombat stuff, and then that stuff goes away, and I'm like, you know what?
The minor stuff.
The minor stuff all goes away, and that's what happened to me in this movie. Right? It had its problems, it had its pacing issues, but I got to see Kung Lao do his awesome teleport. I got to see Cabal, like, do his moves. It's like, oh, should I slow down for you?
Sucked.
And he's talking about someone getting their soul sucked, right? And then like all of my gripes can kind of go away. So they're doing the Mortal Kombat universe justice with the other stuff. Yeah, they changed this, but they added this, and this is cool. So, and I think that's that's why I think I'm cool with them taking cool liberties with it. But
yeah. And obviously they're going to put Johnny Cage in there. So the movie was not subtle about that.
But and like you said, I'm okay with that, because then they give us something like this was cool. Like, so now imagine the movie now with Johnny Cage, and you have this extra cool thing, right? Because when you do the Mortal Kombat, like, let's be real, the best characters in the Mortal Kombat universe are the first three. Then maybe Quan Chi was actually one of the characters outside of the first three that was actually good. Like, mostly to me, everyone else after the first three games are all kind of jobbers. Natara, all those other characters.
You can build off those first three games. What you're saying for the characters that are in there, like you can easily build off like Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Sonya, Kitana, like all these characters, and they do. And it's like
Johnny Cage, and they haven't been in there yet.
You can't build a movie around Terra. I don't even know the fucking names.
Kira, Cobra. Movado.
The weird giant guy with the girl on his shoulder from MKX.
Right? Yeah. What was that? Ferritor?
Ferritor. Yeah. You can't build a movie off them. So can you build a movie off Stryker? No, probably not. But it
would be cool to see him in there.
It'd be cool if they use a crossing guard.
Yeah, crossing guard, right? John Cena.
But yeah, like just having a Mortal Kombat 2 focused like Outworld style tournament and have Shao Kahn in there. They show like MK11 Shao Kahn statue, and it looks so fucking cool. And you're just like, Shao Kahn. And like he obviously needs to be there. Then Shang Tsung would be the sub boss, or something.
Exactly,
you have
he's
to
a
have
sub
Shao
boss.
Kahn in there, and you have to do him justice, because MK Annihilation did not do that, and it's like that's enough to get me excited to see that, because I feel most of the characters. I really like this version of Liu Kang as well. He was kind of sarcastic. He had this nice accent where I'm not sure if the character, like the actor, was British or something, or something. There's something in his accent where I'm like, he sounds just like really neat. I don't know what it was, but like I like this Liu Kang a lot, and he's, he looks like a normal guy. Then he takes off his shirt and he's fucking ripped like Bruce Lee. And like everyone else watching with went, oh my, damn, holy shit.
Yeah, he did definitely he had the super ripped thing going on too, because like you didn't know, but yeah, he was very like I'm Liu Kang, and I think that's what made me like the film too, because like Liu Kang and Kung Lao were like their super counterparts to the game, and then like Kano's just like, what the hell, like who are these two weirdos? Because like
that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, right. Because like they're just so stoic and Mortal Kombat-y, and Kano is just Kano's like, what the heck is up with these two guys? And that whole interaction to me, I'm like, and to me, just having Kano carry the film, like when there's not fighting, to me, I'm like, I don't know how you can like be like, oh, this is Annihilation, like Kano carrying the film and interacting with these people, like these characters.
I think in Annihilation they try to rely on Jax to do some of that work, but it doesn't super work, especially with that actor.
And then, I think
got. He was literally an American Gladiator.
Yes,
the actor that played Jax in that film.
Because it was his idea. It's like, yo, we got these things, Powerball. We should put it in a movie. I have the cages right here. Let's put that
that's
in the movie.
true?
Yeah, no, it could have been.
Okay, yeah, it could have been. Yeah, no,
right?
All bets are off when you're talking about Annihilation.
But speaking of that, I think like NetherRealm Studios, I think they really liked him because all of his after that, like Jax became that character. Like in Special Forces, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then like in the later movies, like Jax is like, oh yeah, like in his fatalities, like he just became that guy from the movie. It's like,
especially on the PS2 MKs.
The PS2 MKs, dude. He had like the chain, and he's like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like.
Mortal Kombat Special Forces also you're not wrong. I did actually make that. It's kind of like how Kano is this way, and then the movie comes out, and then they're like, oh shit, we have to change Kano to be like this Australian dude now. I think some of that happened to Jax. You're not wrong,
dude. And then that too, because Kano was just like, you never knew he was Australian, but then the movie came out, so and he's super Australian. Damn.
So I think that's a pretty good coverage of MK 2021.
Yeah.
I said I don't know if I haven't seen any news about them pushing forward with a sequel, but what?
Oh, I think it's like from what I heard they were doing it, and like it's broken records like for HBO's viewing, and it made its budget back already within the first weekend, like much over the first budget, like over the budget. So like,
okay.
Yeah. So from what I've been hearing, it did really good for, I'm paying attention because I want another one because I thought what they did was great. So it's like, it made well over its budget back, and it broke records for HBO viewing, like for movies and stuff like that.
I didn't see any metrics about that, but you would know a bit better than me. But I mean, I'm not begrudging anybody that disliked this movie for some of the reasons that we're kind of citing. Like there's some weird pacing issues. If they made some changes to the lore and you don't like them, I can't tell you that you're wrong. But it's like going into this with my expectations, which were kind of in the middle, because I was trying to be cautiously optimistic, and I just got what I wanted. Was there things I would have changed here and there, like I would have liked to have seen? Could have been maybe a bit like 10-15 minutes longer. It could have been, and that could have fleshed things out a little bit more. But I still had a giddy, I was 15 again watching this, and I haven't had that feeling watching a Mortal Kombat thing. The only thing I got close to was story mode of MK9. Yeah. Where I was like, oh shit, there's that character doing this thing, and they're doing that, and they're referencing that. So I really enjoyed it overall. So I've had a couple people come at me what did you think about it? I hated it. It was the worst thing ever, and it's worse than Annihilation. I'm like, hey, just calm down. Worse than Annihilation. Please calm down. If Kung Lao does that teleport entrance, it can't be worse than Annihilation.
Exactly. Yeah. Same. And if Cabal does his super speed and it just looks cool and his design is great, I'm like, nah, man, I get wanting a movie to be a full-fledged, robust, good story that you can follow, makes complete sense. But when you're talking about Mortal Kombat, even NetherRealm can't make a lot of story things make sense perfectly. It's just impossible with so many characters and things happening at once. So I give the movie makers a lot of slack and whatever. But exactly.
Kenny, you enjoy Mortal Kombat. You talk about Mortal Kombat. You react to Mortal Kombat things. Where can people see you do that on the interwebs?
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's just like my name, Unroolie. It's UNROOOLIE, and that's on everything. So on the YouTubes and on the Twitch.
Consistent branding.
Yeah, consistent branding. That's what they said that would be good. So you could just Google search that, and you'll find me on the many other things. But and I probably will be playing some kind of Mortal Kombat. and we're talking about it.
At some point or another, yeah. You have reactions and reviews to the movie, so if people want to check that out, link down below in the description. Unrulie, sir, you are a very good guest, and you are the perfect one to get for this Mortal Kombat stuff, because just like I just knew in deep down in my heart, you're the only one. Max doesn't know shit when it comes to Mortal Kombat, so
he don't know shit. I had to teach him.
So that is another Mumbling with Matt in the bag. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this one, and if you have any other suggestions for stuff I can take a look at, or any other guests, let me know, and I'll see what I can do for you. Until next time, thanks everyone for tuning in.